since Zoom changed, the record button is no longer just visible down there. You have to go looking for it. I have forgotten to hit record one time, and then one time it kicked me out and I didn't even know that it did. It was like, ah! So I see people are popping on. I'm going to just go over here and see who's with us so I can get a sound check and make sure everyone can hear us. So I will see, there's my old familiars. Hi, Bernadette. Can you hear us okay? Hi, Hannah. We won't get started until I hear someone say that we're good. So
hi, everyone.
Yep, you see. Okay, awesome. Hi, Kathy. I knew you'd be here. Oh, faithful. I think Kathy's going to move into my house. I'm with her.
Oh, yay.
Right? I'm with her so much. She's on everything I do, so it's awesome.
That's great.
All right. So you guys, we're here with Lisa Fraley, and we are always so happy to have you. You are just, I have to say it like this, Lisa. Anytime someone asks me about the laws and, anyone's panicking or worried or something like that, I'm always like, I defer to Lisa. I defer to Lisa. She's the top legal coach. She knows what she's talking about in this business. And I feel almost like grateful because you're in my pocket all the time. Like you're always in my pocket. And I mean that, like, anytime I'm doing my own business, working on my content, advising coaches on how to do this stuff, you're in my mind and you're in the back, guiding me. And I just really appreciate that you are always available for us. So welcome.
Thank you, Carmen. Thank you. Thank you. It's so good to be here with all of you. And Carmen, I just adore you. Like one of the things, I don't know if everyone knows, but Carmen and I roomed together at a conference actually back in August. And so we got to spend like days together. And I have to say, one of the things I love about you is that you're so committed to helping people know how to make this really easy for them to step into health coaching and to do it properly and to keep them safe. Like that's part of your mission. And of course, that's part of my mission as a lawyer is to help them know what to do to make the law easy and understandable and not scary. And so the fact that you do everything you can to help people understand how to stay safe, I just commend you for that because it can be really scary as a health coach. I'm a health coach. I went to IIN too. I'm also a lawyer. I was a healthcare lawyer in a large law firm for a number of years. And it can be really scary as a health coach not knowing exactly how to set your business up or what to say or do. And so I just appreciate and thank you for always wanting to help people do the right thing.
Absolutely. So we're a good team. We're definitely a good team.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I would like to start with, because I know that people are going to start having questions as we get into the conversation, but a couple of things I want to start with. And one of them is that I'm teaching at some other schools now. I do teaching at the Institute for Functional Medicine. Dr. Hyman is associated there. I've taught on the Pro Series for Reed Davis. Sandra Scheinbaum is the person at IFM that I talk to, and so here's one thing that has come up because I've done the safety in the coaching profession a few times as a slide deck and a presentation. And one of the questions that comes up very often is the things that we say as far as the words, the top 5 and 6 words, the heal, diet, nutrition, and cure, prevent, diagnose. One person from one of those schools actually said that we have freedom of speech and we can say whatever we want. And so I know, because there I am teaching people what not to say, and that comment came up. So I want your take on that, because I always err on the side of caution. And I tell people, if you're in a green state, act like you're in a red. I don't care. Act like you're in a red state, and you'll never really have to carry that worry around and worry so much about, using that insurance that's so important to have.
Exactly. And I agree with what Kathy just said. She was like, wow. Yeah, indeed. So here's the deal. We do have freedom of speech in the United States, but here's the thing. The reason why we tell people to not say words like diagnose, treat, prevent, cure, heal in particular is because those are roles and responsibilities that are designated for licensed medical professionals. And if you're not a licensed medical professional, then you are not allowed to diagnose. You're not allowed to treat. You're actually not even allowed to say that something you do prevents something in a holistic or health context. And you cannot certainly say that you cure them. You also can't say that you heal them. There are some exceptions for healing if you're a spiritual, like a member of the clergy or ordained spiritual minister or something of that nature. You have a little bit more flexibility with the word heal. But with the others, those are medical terms. And as health coaches, we are not medical practitioners. And the other part of that is that we don't want to hold ourselves out or give people the impression that they would think that we are. So you can argue at freedom of speech all you want, but you can also be putting yourself in harm's way by using words like diagnose and treat and cure and prevent, because you're not a licensed medical practitioner when you're in the role of a health coach.
Okay. And I'm glad that you said when you're in the role of a health coach, because reading messages over here, and I'm going to be kind of monitoring chat as well. And you guys remember, we have a Q&A box too. So if you get lost over here in chat, that's a good place for your questions. So Veronica says, my functional doctor said the same thing. We can use the word nutrition. No one has ownership of that word.
Good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Veronica, that's a great point. It's not really about ownership of the words, really. It's about the people getting confused as to what you do. So for example, the word nutrition, the reason why Carmen and I tell people to be careful using the word nutrition is, especially if you're in a red state or an orange state, is because in those states, the word nutrition can be a trigger word for those state boards to actually come and investigate you if you're not a licensed nutritionist or registered dietitian. So the dietitians don't own that word per se, but it's just a red flag that, if you're talking about nutrition and nutrient levels of foods and nutritional levels of food, in a lot of states, that's the jurisdiction of a registered dietitian, not a health coach. We're not allowed to get into nutrient levels of foods as a health coach in those states. You're not allowed to do individualized nutrition assessments and analysis and interpretation and preparing food plans based around nutrient levels. Like, you're not allowed to do that in red and orange states. Only registered dietitians or licensed nutritionists are, and you have to be very careful about how you do that. So that's why Carmen and I take the path of trying to help you be more conservative about it, just because we don't want you to be triggering someone to come after you and investigate you. That's all. The law is always about risk. It's about your comfort level with risk. It's about your, comfort with feeling safe. Some people are very risk adverse and they want to know exactly how to stay very, very safe. And other people are like, oh, I'm not worried about that. I'm going to do whatever I want. Well, it's your choice. You're empowered as a professional to do that. But our job, what we like to do is sort of mama birds, is try to take care of you and help you stay on the safe side so that you're not exposing yourself to risk when you may not even know that you're exposing yourself to risk.
Exactly. And I'm glad you made that point about, because I know some questions are going to come through here in a moment, about, about using the word nutrition and how that kind of sets us up for a red flag. So even if you are, let me just say this, if you are practicing that, my model of coaching, which is the education, preparation, action, and you're not doing anything to assess my nutrient levels and micronutrients and give meal plans and all that, it doesn't mean that they don't think you are. If you use the word nutrition in your content, you could be doing everything legal, but they may say, oh, well, they've got that word nutrition in there, so now we're going to dig in and see what her approach really is in this business. Yeah.
That's exactly right. So and the functional medicine doctor may say that, because clearly as a doctor, they can say that. They can use that word and they can say to you, well, of course, anyone can talk about nutrition. But as Carmen said, it's really, we don't want it to trigger someone to actually see if you're doing something right or wrong. Because even if you're doing it right, if there's a perception that you're confusing people, or that people would be confused if they looked at your website and think that you're a registered dietitian, that's when we want to avoid that from happening for you, because it's so stressful. And it does happen. Clients have come to me in Florida and North Carolina and Illinois, like states where they are cracking down more, and they are terrified. And I'm not a fear monger. I don't like to be a lawyer who puts fear in your mind, and Carmen obviously doesn't either. I want to love you up. My whole business is based around legal love. Like, I want to help you love yourself and your business and keep yourself as safe as possible. And that's why Carmen does her EPA program, is to do the very same thing so that you can be educated and prepared and take action that keeps you safe.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay. So I know that we were going to talk, I had put in the webinar presentation, notes that we're going to talk about what if you wear more than one hat, right? And you and I've talked about this. Actually, I think we did this with Sandra Scheinbaum and the students. Yes. So Veronica is saying, if you are also a nurse, can you use those words? So I know the answer to that, but I'll let you go ahead with the hat demonstration, which I think is so powerful, right?
Well, here's the trick, right? So if you are a nurse, you're obviously licensed in your state. When you're over here acting as a nurse and wearing your hat as a nurse and behaving like a nurse and operating within the scope of your practice as a nurse and helping your patients as a nurse, nurses help patients, right? then you are over here in your licensed profession, and you can use the word nutrition. You can use words diagnose, treat, prevent, cure, heal, as long as you're allowed to do that within your license in your particular state. You can help doctors with that. You can do it yourself, etc. Just depending on what you're allowed to do. Those are medically oriented words over here. But if you are now a nurse and you're a health coach, you're not holding yourself out as a licensed nurse. You're not engaging in nursing practice. You're not working with patients as a nurse. You are a health coach over here. You would not even say that you're a nurse. You would call yourself a health coach. You would be operating and working with clients as a health coach. You would not be engaging in the practice or scope of nursing at all. You would be helping your health coach clients learn how to live a healthy lifestyle and take healthy lifestyle steps and healthy food steps to set them up for success. And so over here as a health coach, you want to make sure that you're staying away from those words, and that also on your website, you're like, hi, I'm Veronica, I'm a health coach. You're not saying that you're a nurse. Other than in your bio, you could say, well, I've been a licensed nurse for 20 years, but now I am helping clients as a health coach because I really want to help people live healthier lives outside of the traditional medical practice. And I'm thrilled and happy to be able to do that through these programs that I offer. So.
Yeah. So you have to be really clear about which hat you're wearing, so to speak. And, just like if you were doing the nursing, and let's say, this is an example, if you are in a hospital working in a nursing setting and you're about to, take blood from somebody, it would be safe for you to say to them, I hope you're hydrated today. It's easier to take blood out of people who have been drinking their water, right? But as a health coach, you wouldn't be talking to them about what that blood result might mean. Oh, you got blood taken today? Well, when you get those labs, let me look at them and tell you what's going on. Like, it's not the same crossover, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And it's easier to think about it like if you're a nurse and a personal trainer. If you're a nurse and a personal training is totally different than nursing, but it's more confusing because health coaching and nursing feel like they overlap sometimes, or health coaching and medicine feels like it overlaps sometimes. But yet if you're a personal trainer, which I'm also a licensed personal trainer, Carmen's licensed personal trainer, it's so different. You're talking about health, you're talking about wellness, you're talking about what did that person eat for breakfast, but it's not in the same way you would do it in a medical context. So think of it that way. Like a health coach is much more like a personal trainer that way than you are like a nurse.
Yeah.
Totally separate.
Good. Okay. So Veronica is asking, I will be working as a health coach with functional doctors' patients. So she's asking, what if she works for the doctor that she's getting ready to start with? Does that change how she's able to use the words?
Okay, great question. So part of it depends on how you're working with the doctor, okay? So if you're working with a functional medicine doctor, like literally a doctor, licensed doctor, then if you're becoming an employee of that medical practice, then you could do so just like a nurse could, or just like their receptionist could. If you're an employee of the practice, you are part of their practice under the doctor. You're an employee representing the business. If you're a health coach and you're contracting with the doctor to do health coaching programs for the doctor, you are still a health coach. You can't use their terminology. You have to use your terminology because you're not, unless you're in a green state. If you're in a green or yellow state, then you can have a lot more leeway. But if you're in a red or an orange state, you have to use your lingo and your way of practicing. And you do have to be really careful about how you practice with individuals one-on-one, which of course Carmen goes into great detail with you about how to do that safely. But you can't just take over their lingo because you're working with them.
Yeah, and remember, when you work in a doctor's office, more than likely they've got medical malpractice insurance, which is one of those protective blankets that when you're an employee there, you're covered under their policy for the most part. So if something happens, you're more than likely going to have better coverage with something like that, as opposed to being a contracted health coach with your own insurance coming in. There's not that much protection.
And some doctors' offices their insurance does cover employees and contractors, but they'd have to check to make sure it would cover you as a contractor. Sometimes it doesn't. It's like it might just be the employees.
It's a comfort thing for me too, though. It's really like I worked in a physical therapy office and I was personal training there, but I was also starting my health coach business there. And it was a tricky thing for me because she had all of these confidentiality and HIPAA and all of the and I was contracted in there, but I wasn't covered under her, but I was using her building and all of that. So I just thought that was back when I learned how to do what I'm doing. This is, many years ago. how do I do this and not put myself at risk in this business and in my own, business outside of here. So that's really kind of along the time where I was tweaking and fine tuning the program and this method of coaching. I thought this works for me, and I'm knocking on every piece of what I own, but I've never had anyone say that I said they should do something. You should, you said to do this. You told me I would heal from this. You said,
no.
And so, and sometimes, sometimes we're going to slip with our words, you guys. I mean, it's like, no one's perfect. It's going to happen, because when we talk to our families, we should do a heal your leaky gut program. It's going to leach into your language every now and then. So we're not here to say, if you say heal, you're in trouble or anything like that.
Right. We just want to minimize the risk, like you said. And part of it, you guys, the reason why we're doing this is to give you information and education to help point you in the right direction. Obviously, every single situation is different. So this isn't legal advice for everyone for your specific situation, but we want you to be really informed and empowered, knowing where these lines are drawn, because the clearer you are about who you are and what you do and what you say you do and how you put that into your website disclaimers and your client agreements and things, the more it helps you be super clear. And then that also helps your clients be super clear. And the more that you're clear and the more that they're clear about where the lines are drawn, the less problems and legal pickles you end up getting yourself into. Right. That's the whole idea. We just want ease for you in your coaching practice.
Right. And I'm going to get to the questions in a minute, but I wanted to throw this out there. One of the things that I really encourage coaches to do is have attached to their fees and services page that goes out before they even start working with them, is have a section that says about me, like what to expect from working with me is what's on mine. And it basically tells them within that statement, I am not this, I am not that. It takes work and dedication and accountability on your end. The whole statement is good, based around saying, when you work with me, this is what I, to expect with me. Yeah. Setting expectations before we even work together.
Well, and as you know too, Carmen, in the client agreements that I do for clients and in my do-it-yourself legal documents, in the client agreement, there is a section around expectations, so that you are being really crystal clear, even in the contract, about who does what and who's responsible for what. Because ultimately, as you guys know, as coaches, our role is to help people figure out what works best for them. What works best for them. So we're not there to heal them or to cure them or to give them the answer. We can give them information and tools and support and emotional support, but ultimately we're there to guide them and mentor them and support them as they figure out for themselves what works for them and their body.
Yeah.
That's the difference. Medical practitioners sort of give you the answer, and health coaches help the client figure out their own answers.
Yes.
Totally different way. It's like a difference between a consultant and a coach. Coaches, we may have information, we may have references. Obviously Carmen connects you guys with bazillions of experts who have all kinds of detailed, specialized information, but we're still the people providing information. The client is the one deciding what works best for them.
Yeah. Yeah. And just remember, I know that many times this question comes up when we do webinars or on my pages or in our groups. People will come to us sometimes and say, just tell me what to eat. I don't want to figure it out. Just tell me what to eat to lose this 15 pounds. Or tell me what supplement to take. I don't care how much it is. Just tell me and send me a link for it. Yeah. And so, I like to always recommend that the coaches provide at least 2 links when they're sharing information with someone that kind of tells the client, I'm giving you options so you can make your own choice. So when you send just one, like if someone says, well, what kind of magnesium do you recommend? And you're like, well, here's one, and you send it. It's not always a great idea, because it looks like you're saying this is the one you should take, as opposed to maybe providing a link that says, why is magnesium important? And then another link that tells you what kind you like, and then maybe something else about another brand or something like that.
That's a great idea, because you guys know as coaches, we're educators, right? Mentors, supporters, helpers. We aren't the be all end all. That's why we can't cure people. That's why we can't heal people. That's why we can't say, do this and you will heal. Do this and you will heal your leaky gut. Like, no. I mean, yes, we may have some things that can have helped us ourselves or have helped other clients, or research has shown that they help people, but you can't make that guarantee for them it will help or cure them in any way at all.
That's right. Okay, so Nicole is saying, how is it possible, and I know the answer to this one too, is fun, that people who have a business with Beachbody can hand out meal plans, use the word nutrition without being held legally to the same standards as health coaches? I am a Beachbody coach as well as a health coach. I don't understand how regular BB coaches can do the same things they do and not get flagged. This goes back to that question that Dave Mitchell asked, I think, in our first webinar together.
Go for it, Carmen. Yeah, go ahead.
How come the guy with the ring in his nose at Whole Foods can tell you to take 2 of these and come off in the morning, right? So we're talking about general approach here. If you're going, when you are working at Whole Foods or you're a Beachbody consultant, you're promoting a line of supplements and powders and all of that, you're going to tell everybody the same thing. So when you're delivering information in a general way, that means that Bob, Mary, Joe, Kevin, and Bob are all going to be told the exact same thing, regardless of the question. So if someone says, I was diagnosed with diabetes, and the Whole Food guy says, well, here's some berberine. And then another guy comes in and he's like, I was diagnosed with diabetes, and he'll go, well, here's some berberine. You know what I mean? Like, here's some blood sugar control supplement. And he's going to tell the same thing to everyone. So
yeah, that's right. Well, and in some states, just so you guys know, there are states that have laws that allow employees in a health food store to give specific recommendations of products sold in the store. That is allowable because theoretically they've been trained on the products that they're actually selling for the store. But to Carmen's point, the idea is the goal is, especially if you're in a red or an orange state, you want to tell everyone the same thing. You can, in red or orange states, you want to be very careful, and I actually tell people not to do it if you cannot help it, at doing too much individualizing, because you're not allowed to do that. You have to make sure you're saying anyone with diabetes might want to consider doing X, Y, Z, not this person who's giving their blood sugar information to you and then you're concocting something to give to them. That's what you can't do. But you can say anyone with diabetes wants to make sure that they're eating any small amounts of sugar and always eating it with a healthy fat or protein to anchor that so their blood sugar doesn't, you can educate generally and give general information that applies to everyone, which is the point that you're making, Carmen, which is good. So in Beachbody, it sounds like what you're saying is they're telling people about the Beachbody products, or maybe Beachbody has suggested eating plans. Is that right? Or food ways to eat. Is that right? I'm not a Beachbody coach, so I don't know. Maybe you can tell us more about that, Nicole.
I think it's very similar to like Shakeology and all those other multi-level marketing programs. They have their products. Their own. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess I was wondering if like Beachbody had a suggested eating like daily, eat this for breakfast, eat a shake for lunch, eat a shake for snack, eat whatever, then that just could be, they're telling everyone the same thing.
Yeah.
Right? Eat your strawberry shake for breakfast, your chocolate shake for lunch, and have a snack of a vanilla shake, and have a healthy dinner of a meat, a protein, and a vegetable, or whatever, protein or vegetable, or whatever. Yeah. See how that's not individualized? That's just, it's like you could open a cookbook or open a diet book off of a bookshelf and it would say, here's your sample plan for the day. Yes. You can do that. The individualization in some states, yellow and green states, people can do individualized food plans for those people in those states. But if you're a business and you're based in a red or orange state, you are not allowed to do the individualized part for that specific person. But you can say, here's a sample Beachbody plan that I give to everyone. Then that's okay.
Yeah, but also, again, like you were talking about, we're like the mama birds here. Remember that we never know what laws are in the process of being changed.
Totally.
We don't know what's happening behind the doors. And if a state is being, if a yellow state is in the process of being changed to an orange state, and you've got your entire business set up as if you have freedom of speech on everything, you are going to be wasting time and money and everything to start over again. So just start over. Just start as if you're in a red state and keep save yourself, in my opinion. I mean,
and I always go back to so I graduated from IAN in 2012 and have brought my legal coaching, for the past 5 years. So I've worked with lots and lots and lots of clients. And I just tell people as a coach, remember, our goal as a coach, the way that we're trained, is to mentor and guide and provide emotional support and help that person figure out what's right for them. Mm-hmm. So we want to empower them to do some research and to gather some information and to figure out and try different things. And we're there to help sort of support them on the way.
Yeah.
That's why you can have handouts like, here's all your gluten-free options. If you don't eat gluten, try these instead. Or if you don't eat sugar, try these natural sweeteners instead, because you're telling everyone the same thing. Yeah. You can give resources, but just not personalized in those situations.
Yeah. And many people that, I don't know, this is open to everyone, but for those people that are in the Health Coach Mentorship and Mastery Group, the Education Preparation Action Plan is in that group. And so they have videos, they have all the intake forms, they have the exact template they need to follow exactly what you just said, is delivering those resources in a safe way. They have safe language documents. They have our original webinar. So you know, if you're in that group, you're already equipped to do this, right? You just got to take the time to go in there and make those things your own. So just reminding you guys, you know, I've given you this. If you're in the group, you've already got access. So make use of it. It's yours. Okay. So let's see here. Let's go another question. Veronica says, very helpful. Does this work the same if I'm hired by our hospital to teach nutrition classes and work as their health coach? So say she was the one that asked about the doctor. So is it the same as if she's working in a hospital? Same thing, right?
Yeah, I think it depends on, are you a hospital employee or are you just going there to give, are you contracted to come in, give a workshop and teach something on behalf of the hospital? Like, what exactly is your role? Are you going in as a representative of the hospital and talking to people, or are you going in as your own coach with your own business? Then it would make a difference the way that you're providing it. It's tricky because if you're doing it for the hospital and they already have everything prepared and you just show up like, hi, I'm Susie Q here representing the hospital and following what they say, that's very different than you're like, hi, I'm Susie Q. The hospital asked me to come. I'm a health coach. I have my own business. Here are the programs I offer. Here's what I do. And I'm here to talk to you today about eating fruits and vegetables. Like, that's totally different. You're holding yourself out as your own practice. So you have to do what you're allowed to do in that state. And if you're doing it like, their hospital person got sick and they know you and called you to come in and stand in their place and act as the hospital, then you want to make sure that you're really clear in your contract with the hospital what your role is. But it's also it's very different with a hospital, I think, even than a doctor.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So Eddie is saying, should I use food coaching instead of nutrition coaching? Yeah. Yeah. I would.
And health coaching. Health or wellness.
I would just say health and wellness coach. I wouldn't. I think maybe Eddie's asking about in content. So writing something about, I offer nutrition coaching. I would say I offer coaching towards a whole food plan, or something like that. Yeah. And again, there's language exchange documents. If you're in the coaching group, there's those too. I give you examples of how to replace those words safely. So I would just, nutrition is just, I just take it out.
I know. It's just such a trigger.
I know. And let me say this too. Let me say this as clarification. And I'm sure we've talked about this before. Just because you went to a school with the word nutrition in it doesn't give you the right to call yourself, to use the word nutrition. Now, I know that's crazy, right? Because you would think going to a school, Institute of Integrative Nutrition, would give you the ability to say that you studied nutrition. But I don't even say that. I say I studied dietary theories and whole food approach. I don't even say I studied nutrition, because that is another flag. What do you think about that?
No, I like that. I think that's great, Carmen. That's what I do too. Because they tell us, you learn 100 dietary theories. And then I also I talk about bioindividuality, but I also say that we help people figure out for themselves what works best for their own body.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter what state you're in, but that's, you want to make sure that it's really about giving information and education. And like Carmen says, education, preparation, and action to help people make their own decisions about their own bodies. It's like you're supporting them in their self-discovery process.
Yeah. Meet them where they are and take them to where they want to be. It's one of my favorite slogans that always is in the front of my mind. So, okay, let's see here. Depending on who you talk to, okay, that's not a question, but okay. So Eddie is saying, can I provide a personalized plan? I'm a personal trainer as well. My approach is holistic personal training and address 5 pillars of wellness. Nutrition, physical. Yeah.
Can you tell us where you are, what state you're in?
Yeah, I typed it in the comments there, but let me go ahead and finish the question. Yeah. It says, I address 5 pillars of wellness: nutrition, physical activity, stress, sleep, and mindfulness. Is that allowed to say that I address all 5 pillars of wellness through a personalized plan? So,
personal training gets tricky. So Eddie, it sounds like you hold yourself out as a personal trainer, right? Not as a health coach, but you say, hi, I'm a personal trainer. And I have a practice based on holistic personal training. And I address 5 pillars of wellness: nutrition, physical activity, stress, sleep. I would personally, kind of based on what Carmen was saying too, I might change that to food instead of nutrition, or health instead of nutrition, or eating instead of nutrition.
California.
Okay. You have a lot more leeway in California, Eddie, to use the word nutrition. You have the ability to do that in your state specifically. So you probably can do that comfortably. But again, that's just an answer for you, and everyone else, it would depend on where they're located.
And I always say for now.
Yeah, for now, exactly.
For now, because you never know.
Last year, 3 states changed colors. The year before that, 2 states changed colors. So it does happen. It's the law, like Carmen says, the law changes all the time.
Yeah. Okay, so Bernadette is saying, Claudia is saying, would you say coaching consult for a free call? I never know what to call it. I mean, I've done both, interchange it. I've interchanged session or consult or use like.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah.
Either one's fine. Yeah, you can call it whatever you're comfortable with. Discovery session, free call, free coaching session, free training, whatever you want.
Yeah.
There's no restrictions around that part of it.
Okay. Bernadette says, yes, I remember when this happened. She said, we graduated and now we are able to say we are an integrative nutrition health coach, last name, so on, INHC. I think that's, IIN is trying to set themselves aside, like FDN practitioners, so an FDNP, and that's kind of what I think they are trying to do. They're trying to give themselves a tagline, INHC, but I would not use that. I'm from there too.
Again, it depends on what state that you live in. Again, if you're in a yellow or green state, you can probably do that. Like Carmen says, for now, it's totally fine. But if you're in a red or orange state, I would just I hate to say it, I would just call yourself a health coach. In your bio page, on your about page, on your website, you can say, I graduated from the Institute for Integrative Nutrition in whatever year as a health coach or holistic health coach or something like that. But I would call yourself more a holistic health coach or a health coach. And Illinois is a red state, Nicole's saying. So I would stay away. It's all about risk. Do what you're comfortable with, but we are just recommending ways for you to be as safe as possible without causing confusion for people or for yourself. Stress for yourself.
Exactly. Okay. So Kimberly's asking a good question, which we probably should have thrown this in there earlier. I almost feel like I say it so much that everybody knows me by now, but they don't. We have some new people on and new people getting the recording. You can find out what state color you're in at nutritionadvocacy.org. So,
I know. We just sort of made that assumption.
Oh, yeah. We just made that assumption. We talk about it so much, but anyway.
I know.
Nutritionadvocacy.org will give you a place to actually click on health coach and find out what the restrictions and the guidelines are for your state. So, Hannah is asking, I have a question about making recommendations. My local business mentor, who is not a fellow health coach, just helps with general business, told me I shouldn't even refer to my clients to my website store with my favorite supplements and tools if they are affiliate links. He says it brings in liability if they purchase something that I get a cut of, like an Amazon affiliate. I don't agree with that.
Here's the thing. If you have a store or you have affiliate links on your website, you just have to disclose that you're an affiliate.
Yeah.
So 2 things. Number 1, if you're an affiliate for essential oils or supplements or some other products that you like to refer to through your Amazon store or just otherwise, you have to say that by purchasing any of the products offered through these links, I may receive financial compensation or other compensation. I'm an affiliate for these brands. Like, you have to say that right there on the page where the store is and where the links are. You can't put it in the tiny font at the bottom. It has to be right there where people can see that in a size that people can actually read. That's fine. You have to disclose that. But usually the way that it works is that, what I recommend is that everyone has on their website a website disclaimer, first of all, not 2 sentences at the bottom of your website, but an actual full 3-4 page document that goes through and disclaims your liability around what's on your website, what you offer through your website, your affiliate links, and that the language is designed to limit your liability, right? But it's also to empower your reader, your website visitor, to say, hey, listen, guys, if you come to my website and you read my blog posts, you read my articles, you read what I wrote here, here's where my liability ends and here's where your personal responsibility begins. And one of the things that I say in my website disclaimer that I offer to people is, hey, listen, I'm an affiliate for these products if you see links throughout my website, but I just want you to know these are trusted brands that I love, but you still have to use your own judgment, your own determination to figure out if they're right for you, because you can't be responsible for what they choose to do, and you want to make sure they're fully aware that they have to make their own choices.
Yeah. So and that's even one thing I recommend, and I teach in my big course, is that people set up a shop so that they're not giving individual supplement links and resources. They can say the things that I like are in my store. You can find my favorite brands there. or what I do for myself, because I think that's, again, it's your website, but it is a resource. You're sharing a link to your website. You're not opening their mouth, driving their house, put the pill in. You're sending them.
And you don't want to recommend dosages or things like that either. You have to be very careful about that.
Yeah.
If you're worried about liability from supplements, you want to say follow the appropriate dosaging. We know as health coaches, sometimes more of something is better or less of something is better. But if you're concerned from a liability standpoint, you do just want to be very careful about that and direct people to the dosage on the bottle, because you guys know for a lot of people, getting them to take any supplement is better, even if you think more would be better of a particular type of supplement, even to get the basic dosage in their body once or twice a day based on the directions. That right there is already helping them so much.
Yeah. And another thing you can think about here, this is something that I like to do. Anytime that I tell someone that, that we're magnesium deficient, I mean, everybody's walking around without enough magnesium or iodine or whatever it may be, I send a link that supports what I say. And it's coming from a resource like PubMed or, GreenMed or something, some outside source outside of myself that backs up and supports what I say. So for people who are saying, well, should I take iodine? I have Hashimoto's. It's a real common question. I've heard it can flare you up. I always say, you know what? I did my own trial and error on that. And these are the articles I found to support what I decided to do. And I share those articles.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's great. You can always tell your own story. That's another way to protect yourself. But yeah, that's great, Carmen. You're so good at that.
Yeah. And, I always say, if this were me too, it's like my favorite saying. So, I mean, it's so much to that. I even say it to my family. Like my dad sent me a message the other day and he was like, so should I take this with this? And I'm like, ask Dr. Tim, because I know he's working with Dr. Tim Jackson on methylation mold, all of that kind of stuff. And so I just told him, ask him. Like, I'm not going to answer that for my own father, And let me tell a little bit of a horror story too. Let me say this. I have one of my very best friends. I've been friends with her for eternity, 20 years or so. She lives in Washington and she is, she's been trying to figure out like how to sleep better and all that kind of stuff. And she had said, what do you know about GABA? And I said, well, it's great if if you're GABA deficient in your brain, neurotransmitters, it can be really great, but it comes with side effects and warnings as well. Well, I got some and I think I'm going to try it. I'm like, okay, let me send you a link to read about it, what to not do and be careful of. Well, she didn't read it. She didn't read it at all, of course, and she took too much, literally ended up with, in a blacked out state in a hospital.
Wow.
It was a supplement over the counter. She bought it at a nutrition.
Terrifying.
Yeah, terrifying. She is GABA deficient. I'm quite sure of it.
Terrifying.
Because match at all, but we're talking about, and Trudy Scott taught about this. I brought Trudy Scott to everybody about the anti-anxiety solution. And she said, there are pixie dust people. That's what I'm getting to with this story. There are people that are pixie dust people that can only take a little sprinkling of any kind of supplement and their body overreacts.
Body freaks out. Yeah, exactly.
So if we don't guide them to read the bottle and make their own choice like that, it's not that we're liable, but you don't want to be in that position. She called me the next day and was like, you're not going to believe what I did. I'm like, this is also the girl who took so much aspirin that she went deaf in one ear one time because she had a hangover about 30 years ago. I'm like,
oh my gosh, that's terrible.
More is not better. More is not better.
No.
Bless her heart. She calls me for everything. I said, why do you call me? You're going to do what you want to do, and it's going to always be too much anyway. So anyhow, but just be mindful is all I'm saying. Okay. Yeah. Eddie is asking, have you heard of Ulta lab tests? We can order labs without a doctor's prescription. Okay. So let me speak to this one real quick.
Yeah,
if you don't mind. So I'm not a fan of health coaches ordering labs for anyone.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that. I think that there should be a safer mode of getting labs, and that could be through someone like wellnesseffects.com or a place where the client goes out and orders their labs. And yes, they can send you the labs all day long if they want to, but you cannot interpret those labs. So if you are ordering the labs without a doctor's prescription, that looks like you are acting as if you are a doctor. They are going to depend on you to read those labs and tell them what those labs say. I would avoid that. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, labs are really tricky, right? There's so many functional nutrition practitioners who we work with, and labs are really tricky. Part of it depends on the state where you are again, because remember, in those red and orange states, you can't do individualized work with people. So you want to be careful, like you can't interpret labs like you're talking about. In some states out there, you have to actually have a doctor in that state for a patient in that state, order labs in that state.
That's right.
So you can't be in Kansas and order for a patient in a different state. And not Kansas is not an example. New York is an example of that, where that is the case. But other states can change their laws at any time to be that way. It gets really scary. And I know sometimes it feels really good to be able to order the labs because it's like a one-stop shop and you don't have to have the person go to their doctor and get the labs. But labs are medical. That's a medical test. If you're doing medical tests, I mean, and sometimes obviously you may be analyzing hair or saliva or something. Like it can, the degree of what's the word I'm looking for? Intrusiveness, I guess is the right word, varies, right? Like hair and saliva aren't necessarily intrusive medical tests, but I like, Carmen's approach is really good, that if you can avoid that, and they can share their lab tests with you. If you're in a state where you're allowed to look at those and help them create a food plan, that's great. But in other states, you're not even allowed to go through it, line by line and interpret for them what it means. They need to do that with their own doctor.
Yeah. And one way that I actually teach coaches to avoid looking like that's what they're doing is, I teach in my course, you pull up labtestonline.org. Okay. It's a great resource. If someone sends me their labs, what I'll do is I'll have them send me a copy of the labs. I have them have the labs in front of them. I then pull up a screen. Usually I'm not one-on-one in person anymore. I do everything online. But I share the screen for labtestonline.org, and whatever looks like an abnormality that they're worried or concerned, or like say HbA1c, which tests your blood sugar over a period of 3 months, I will type in there where they're watching me, HbA1c search. I will pull the lab up so we're looking at the same thing. And I will literally just read what's there and kind of dumb it down a little bit for them. So they're reading it, they're looking at it, and I'm simply just reading it out loud while we both look at the same thing.
Okay, and so that's a really important distinction, because you are allowed to educate them. And that's what Carmen's doing there. They're like, what does this mean? HB1, like, what does that, I don't know what that means. What does that mean? So Carmen's saying, look at this resource here. Here's what it tells you what that means. And let's read it together. Blah, blah, blah. What that's saying is this means it's measuring their blood sugar over a period of 3 months. Now you're telling them what that item is in their lab test. That's very different than saying, okay, now we're going to look at yours and find your specific level, and I'm going to take that information and make a whole plan for you and give it to you. Like those are totally different things. Totally different things. So you can educate people and help them understand the medical information in their life. But it obviously, like we said before, in certain states, you cannot interpret it in any way and create anything for them based on those test results. They need to interpret their test results with their doctor, and then they can come to you and talk to you about healthy eating and healthy lifestyle and how to, follow, healthy steps. But you're not providing that medical interpretation or medical advice.
Right. And you're also giving them, with that method, you're giving them the tools that they have for their life. Like,
exactly.
And they don't have to hire a health coach every single time they get a lab back. They now know. And in my opinion, that's what it's all about, is giving them tools that they can use for the rest of their life to take care of themselves and feel empowered. So they don't have to feel this hopeless feeling of not knowing what to do. And, and then of course you get your business from people saying, oh my gosh, you taught me so much, your referrals then create your business. So,
and again, whether you can order your own labs or not, based upon the state where your business is located. That, you may have the knowledge to be able to order them and to know what the heck you're doing if you were to order them, but whether you're allowed to order them is based on the state where your business is located.
Okay. So Veronica says, I was told that after graduating from the Institute of Functional Medicine, we are allowed to order our own labs. And yes.
It depends on if you're in a state where you're allowed to do that, and also where your client is based too. Because again, some clients, like for example, in New York, if your client's in New York, let's say you're in Kansas, well, I can't tell let's say you're in California, which is the yellow state, and your client's in New York, which is a green state right now. But in New York, there's a law that says any client in New York has to have blood labs or tests ordered only by doctors in New York. So even if you're allowed in California to do it, and you're a functional medicine practitioner and you're trained and you have some knowledge about what to order, you can't do it for that client in New York. You can't. So it's very state dependent.
And I mean, there is a protective measure already put into place where the state, they're not going to allow you to do that. Like anyone that labs are not going to be sending labs to New York And they're going to tell you, you can't order for that client.
So but you can't rely on the lab to make that determination.
Exactly.
It is tricky, you guys. Like, we're not going to lie. Like, it is complicated. It's tricky. The laws change. You know, we try to make it as simple and easy as possible to keep you as safe as possible. We try to keep it as simple, so you know what you can and can't do. But again, it's not all set in stone because it changes all the time. Situations are different. But we do want you to walk away feeling like you have a general sense and you do feel prepared and more knowledgeable than when you stepped into the webinar.
Yeah. And so, yeah, Veronica is saying, how do you find this out? What is allowed in various states? So I do have clients in other states. I mean, you just have to look up the state that they're in and simply Google something like, you know, allowance of lab ordering or labs, you know, rules around blood tests or something like that. You know, you're going to get a state guideline from what I remember doing years ago. And when I had a client reach out from New York and I'm like, yeah, I can't help you up there with that. You're going to have to find somebody.
The true answer is you need to talk to a lawyer in that state. That's hard to do. We recognize because you have clients all over the US and around the world actually, but, you know, do the best that you can to keep yourself safe. Yeah. If you follow your intuition, if you are feeling strange about it or you're not sure, and in general, this is not true with everything, but in general, sometimes the more conservative states are conservative about all parts of practice. Like some politically conservative states are more traditionally conservative around medical care too. Not always. And traditionally, some more liberal states are more open. Not always, like New York's a perfect example of that. So follow your gut, and then if you're concerned, and do talk to a lawyer, do have a lawyer help you. It's worth it to pay them to actually help you investigate that and get the answer to that question, and then you can move on with your work.
Okay, so I'm going to hop over Bernadette here, but I'm going to go back to her in a minute because what you just said, I was just going to talk about the local lawyers. So Hannah is saying, I have a question about working with local lawyers in Rhode Island. There's a specific chapter for unlicensed healthcare practitioners I have poured over. I feel pretty confident about my disclaimers and documents. Rhode Island supplies you with an unlicensed client bill of rights for clients to sign, but keep thinking maybe I should have a lawyer give it their blessing. I've been in contact with a lawyer in my state who used to work for the health licensing office, and she was surprised I was seeking her out for prevention for doing something wrong, commended me for it. But it would be around $700 for her to look at my website. Yeah. So not having any income, and yes, Hannah, I remember you already mentioned it to me, and you know my suggestion was to go to Lisa's page, but I think it's a valid question. To, you know, what are your thoughts about working with local attorneys? Are they, you know, do they need to have, do they need to have an intimate understanding of what we do as health coaches? Is this a person that would be a good resource for Hannah?
Yeah, Hannah, definitely in your situation, that is a perfect person for you to talk to because you're talking with a lawyer in your state who specifically understands healthcare practitioners. That's very rare. Most people aren't lucky enough to have a lawyer actually with that specific of a background. So I know that the way that I usually tell people is that, you know, because I'm a health coach too, the way that I've drafted my do-it-yourself legal templates is that they're designed for holistic practitioners as a really good place to start, and they're much more affordable than paying an hourly rate for a lawyer. But I do recommend that you show them to a lawyer in your state, or that you take them and have them be reviewed, because it's much cheaper to get a client agreement that's designed for holistic healthcare practitioners with lots of disclaimer language about medical, which a lot of different traditional lawyers don't have that language because they don't know what we do. So I really recommend using client agreements for your one-on-one clients and having a really thorough long website disclaimer on your website, and using terms of use for your program, your online programs and your online courses, and showing them to a lawyer in your state. In your case, Hannah, for your website, you know, I think if you go over your website based upon the conversation we've had here first, and make sure it doesn't have any of the words in it that we've talked about: diagnose, treat, prevent, cure, heal. Make sure you're not using the word nutrition. Make sure that you are knowing the color of your state and whether or not you are allowed to do one-on-one work or not. And if you are, where the lines should be drawn. You know, it can't hurt you to have that lawyer do that. And it would be a really smart idea, because if you do it one time, you'll know the answers to all those questions. You won't have to do it again because you'll be informed and knowledgeable. But make sure you're using legal documents, like more than your website even. client agreements, terms of use, things that people sign when they agree to work with you. Because the people who usually come after us are people who are our clients, not necessarily website visitors, although it's important to have your website clean as well.
Yeah.
That's how you answer that.
Yeah. Yeah. And so one of the things, just to kind of, I want to go back, because we've mentioned a couple times that working one-on-one, you had made reference that we shouldn't be working one-on-one or doing like customized, personalized consultations types of things if we're in these more restricted states. Let's clarify what that means, because so many people are doing one-on-one sessions. I did them for, almost 7 years. But just let's clarify that is also in one-on-ones, they are allowable, but you are also practicing that general approach we've been talking about. If you're doing the general approach, then
it can't be individualized.
Yes.
And that's the trick, though, is that a lot of people, when you're a health coach and you have all kinds of information, it's really hard for you sometimes to hold back from not giving individualized information to your client. So it takes a lot of discipline in those states. And it also comes back to what you can prove, right? It comes back to what you can prove. So if someone thinks that you're doing a one-on-one session and you don't have any ability to prove to them you're not personalizing the information in your 1-hour coaching calls, that's where you get yourself in trouble. So if you have a 3-month program where week 1 is about this topic and you can give them this handout and this handout and this handout, that helps. That you're not, and you're giving everyone the same exact information, that helps. But it gets tricky in those one-on-one conversations because it's so hard for health coaches to not personalize the information when they know the answers to the client's questions. That's right, Carmen, where I tell people to be very cautious.
Yep. And so remembering that I teach people to do their sessions on the HIPAA protected Zoom site, so you can record it, so it's not a he said, she said situation. I also recommend that when you are sending those and I'm going through I'm doing a whole intake series using the forms with a real client live on webinars for the coaching mentorship coaching group, which is going to be really helpful to clear all of this up. But I also make sure that when I send those recommendations after the first session, it's in writing on email. And I keep a copy of it during the relationship that I have with them. So it shows them, here's a link to magnesium glycinate. Here's a link to magnesium citrate and a reason why magnesium is important. Because we talked about it, because we said, there are lots of possibilities of what could be going on. You'll have to decide if this is something you need to ask your doctor about. Let me send you some resources for that. So I keep copies of that stuff. When I'm doing my one-on-ones, I keep that stuff so I can show, this is what I would send to, Bob, and this is what I sent to Harry. Same thing, right?
Yeah, and Carmen, you've been doing this for a long time, and you're very, very clear where your lines are drawn.
Yeah.
And you also have the awareness and knowledge to know when you could be pulled into giving individualized information, and you know how to stop yourself. And so it's so good that you're teaching people that. But just what I found from working with health coaches for 5 years is that so many health coaches are so eager to help, right? Mm-hmm. Especially around issues that you struggled with yourself, that were, you just wish someone had told you, do this just for you. Like it's really, really hard for some people to not give that personalized information, or to somehow show that they didn't. That's the trick, you guys. It's to show that you didn't give personalized information. Yeah. So, and I'm, Carmen's teaching you how to do it, but I still get a little more cautious even than Carmen, and want you to be just really, really, really careful in those red and orange states. And I actually encourage you in those states to do much more online courses, much more group programs, even with 2 or 3 people in the group. Like, you don't have to be giant groups, but like more than individualized, because you're not allowed to do that individualized piece. And that's where it can get really murky. Yeah. If someone were to investigate you.
Yeah. And I just finished 2 of my probably 7 or 8 group coaching templates for people too, because I'm leading them into that process of group coaching.
That's great.
And it's discussion points. That's all it is, and they are able to use that and make a group coaching program for themselves to start, making money doing that.
And even in a group coaching session, someone might be like, hi, my kids are allergic to peanuts and I can't eat this and I can't, what do I do? Well, you can say, I would tell anyone who's allergic to peanuts, try these other nut alternatives, and you can give them a handout with like 6 different nut alternatives. You can answer questions for people, but again, it goes back to, you would tell everyone in that setting. Yeah. So if it's a general question in a group session, kind of like we're doing here, it's okay, because I would tell anyone who's asking about lab tests, it comes back to what color your state is that you're in. Or if anyone's giving a talk in a hospital, I would tell them the same thing, right?
Yeah.
So we're answering questions in this webinar, but I would tell all of you the same answers to those questions.
Yeah.
You can do that too with your clients. It's hard when you're in a one-on-one setting than in a group setting.
Yeah. All right. Let's blow through some of these questions here. I just want to make a real quick comment. Bernadette said, I figured if someone already has lab work done, I can point out things she may want to ask their doctor about more information on and so on. Absolutely. 100% agree with that. If I saw a TSH of 75, which I did see with a client one time, I almost drove her to the doctor. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, get in my car. I'll take you right now. That's really high.
But Carmen, that's a great question though, because you can say, hey, look, this number's higher. You want to talk to your doctor about that, but you wouldn't say, but then let me tell you exactly what to do with that. Like,
no. And this is, that's how my food guide came to be. And that's how my thyroid guide came. All those 2 ebooks that I wrote with over 100 pages of resources that I say, here, looks like your thyroid might be struggling a little bit. Take this with you when you go see your doctor and see what he thinks. So.
Exactly.
Okay. So Nicole says it's been very helpful. I sometimes feel like health coaching isn't a viable profession because we don't have a lot of protection or leverage. Do either of you foresee more protection if we get a new national certification? The one that I had, Leanne Webster was on with a webinar with me from the international coaching thing. She was told not to bother practicing in Illinois. That makes me mad.
You can't, but in Illinois, just try, health coaching is a great profession, you guys. We are educators, we are supporters, we are coaches. We help people figure out what works best for them. We support them emotionally along the way. It's a really, really important profession. It's a complement to medical professions. It's a complement to registered dietitians and licensed nutritionists. There's a place for all of us. There really is.
Yes.
The impetus right now, because it's not a licensed profession, is for us to take effort to keep ourselves safe. The impetus is on us to be safe. And when you use legal documents, when you follow Carmen's program, when you get yourself clear on what you can and can't say and what you can and can't do, that's how you can help keep yourself safe. And I know you get documents from IIN or from your health coaching school or wherever, and those are good places to start if you're using their program, okay? But once you branch out and start doing your own programs, then you do want to make sure you're talking with a lawyer who understands health coaches, so that you can get clear and make sure that the work that you're doing is being protected, and that you are setting up your contracts properly and making sure that you feel safe and secure and protected, knowing how those documents cover you. So documents from your coaching school are a really great place to start, but as you go forward, you do want to have them reviewed by a lawyer who understands the work that you do.
Absolutely. So yes, Lisa, we are allowed to use certified holistic health coach. That's a quick question, a quick answer. Are we able to share free documents received online as a printout as long as we credit them? It's a resource. So if you send them
to depends.
It
depends. You have to be very careful though, because it depends. If you're
printout. Sorry. I thought she meant
if you're doing what Carmen does, where you're providing a list of resources of all these different people, you can't take their work and put it in your work and make money from their work without their permission.
Right.
Okay. So you want to get their permission and you want to give them credit, but you can do a quote from someone, a little quote. You can't do 4 paragraphs from their book and put it in your book.
Exactly.
Or in your course materials and make money from it, because you're taking their work and you're making money. So part of that's kind of follow your intuition of how would you feel if someone took your work. That's a good way to figure out, I think I do need to ask them permission to do that. But that could be a copyright violation, as well as just unethical taking of their work. So make sure you're clear about that.
I have quoted, there's some, I pulled some pieces out, in my food guide of Chris Kresser or in my thyroid guide, but then there's the link. First, the reference and a link directly to their work, so that they have to get everything from their work.
That's good. That is good. But you do want to, if you're using a substantive portion, you do want to get their permission to do it, just so they don't come after you in any way and say that you stole their work.
Exactly.
Without their permission.
Okay. So how do we find a lawyer familiar with what we need? Well, there's one on right now. For instance, my sister-in-law is a contract, securities, and exchange lawyer. She knows her stuff, but not what I need in particular.
I know. You know what? There are so many wonderful traditional lawyers out there. So many of my friends from law school, amazing traditional lawyers. Sometimes they can look over your stuff, but sometimes they don't know the online part, which is why I created the documents that I did, because I have the perspective of the health coaching. I created the legal documents with health coaches in mind and other holistic practitioners in mind, because it's much easier to get all that information already in your document and then take that to a traditional lawyer to say, hey, does this cover anything specific about my state? It's a lot harder to go the other way around. Yeah. Because traditional lawyers, as wonderful as they are, they don't always get that we need to have lots of medical disclaimers and lots of clarity around affiliates, and more than most people would think to include around disclaiming information and empowering the client to take responsibility for their own results and not guaranteeing results and like all kinds of things. Yeah. They just don't know, and that's because they're not trained in the work that we do.
Yeah. Okay. Nicole's saying, I think IIN did a very bad job of telling us what the startup costs are and the steps we need for having a legally protective business. I agree with that. I think that that was kind of left out. I definitely did a lot of investing when I graduated.
I think we all do. You know, we all do. Because when we go just to, like, people always say, like, why doesn't my nutrition school tell me all this stuff? Well, they're just like any school, actually. You know, when I went to law school, I learned about the laws in the state where my law school is based. And I learned about national laws and model laws. But I still had to go to my state and learn the laws in my state. So it's not just IIN. It's not just a health coaching school. This is true for nurses, doctors, anyone. Yeah. We all, you know, this is true for any profession.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to scroll down here because they're talking. So, I love that you guys are connecting with each other too. I love that. I love the community. Oh, the veggie pharmacist. That's cool. Can relate. Great. Okay, good. So they're making some connections off of, offline. And it looks like, let me tell you, I'm in the South, you guys, and the wind and the storms that came through here, they canceled schools in, across Tennessee. And actually today, delayed us 2 hours because they were so bad. Wow. Power lines are down everywhere. It looks like my son and I drove through and I picked him up from school early today. It looked like we went through an episode of Twister. It was insane. And all it was wind and hail. So anyway,
crazy.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm having some instability in case someone's seen digitizing. So we've got one more question here.
And that's probably,
says, is there a standard disclaimer that can be used on our websites for protection in red states? That's for you.
Well, so there is a disclaimer. You can use other people's work, okay? But I do have a do-it-yourself website disclaimer. Carmen is an affiliate. She has the link for that she can share with you to be able to help you if you need to find a website disclaimer written specifically for health coaches. Or, of course, you can use other sources as well.
Yeah, but important to have. Important to have those agreements and those disclaimers and things. So it's just honestly, you guys, here's the thing. And I know that when you first get started with health coaching, I understand the financial part of it. I was blessed enough that my husband was, I was in a position to build my business with his income. I was able to, put the pedal to the metal, but as spouses go, they watch everything you're spending. So I had to be careful, but it's worth the investment. It's worth, even if you have to put it on a credit card and pay it off in 2 or 3 months, it's worth the investment to be protected, because that $500 or $600, $700, whatever, however much money to protect yourself could be a $10,000, $15,000 mistake. So paying on the front end to protect yourself, in my opinion, is worth every single penny. It's only going to make you feel more secure and help you sleep at night and help your spouse not be, worried about your business as well. Because remember this, when you are a sole proprietor, which is when most health coaches start out to be, you are, everything that you have is at risk. Your home, your everything, like you are bringing your family into your business, so to speak. So, to me, that was worth everything. Right. And
you guys, the way that I do my legal documents, first of all, I'm one of the only lawyers that you'll ever meet that takes, like, most of my legal templates are around $397, about $400, which, by the way, when I did them one-on-one for clients, was anywhere from $900 to $1,500 per legal document. So $400 is a huge bargain. Yep. And you only buy it once. And for example, with mine, there's a 4-payment plan. So it's like $100 a month for 4 months, which is really manageable for starting health coaches. That's why I do it that way. Because Carmen, we get it. We understand. We've both been in your shoes. We were starting business owners. We know that every $100 counts. But when you set them up, you do it once. You have your client agreement, you have your website disclaimers, you have your privacy policy, you have all the things that you need. You do it one time, and then you don't have to do it again. You can adapt your client agreement. You can adapt your documents going forward. So it is worth it. And one of the things that I know that we both do is, certainly I do, is try to help you prioritize what you need now and what can wait so that you can spend your resources wisely. You don't need every legal step right now. You only need certain legal steps at once. And in fact, Carmen, can I share with them just my new book, the Inexpensive Legal Resource?
Yeah.
So my new book is coming out called Easy Legal Steps that are also good for your soul, because I align legal steps with the chakras. And it's 99 cents, the Kindle version, on sale right now. It's, by the way, it's a #1 Amazon bestseller in 3 legal categories. And you can get it at lisafraley.com/book. So that right there is 99 cents, will give you lots of legal information to get you going and help you kind of know what steps to take in what order as you go forward in your business.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. Good. That's
so lisafraley.com/book.
Yep. So you'd put a slash after the .com, but everybody, I'm going to share links in the
Thank you.
Yeah. That goes out. I'm going to plug this in. I'll have Jen, my social media girl. She will make sure that you guys have everything that you need.
Great.
Leah is asking, should we switch to an LLC?
That's a whole nother webinar, girlfriend.
Yeah, it truly is. Yeah, truly. And that is not, in my opinion, if I remember what we talked about that one time, is something to consider later on when you're making a lot more money.
Unless you have a lot of resources to lose now.
Exactly.
Yeah. But that's all addressed in the book too, by the way. That will help you.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome.
Yay.
Okay. Thank you so much, Lisa. As always, it's super helpful. And
guys,
like we could sit across and have a glass of wine, a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, dinner, or whatever, and talk like this. It's just it's such an easy flow. And I just so appreciate your willingness to always hop on when I ask you to. Great.
Thank you. And Carmen, thank you so much for the work that you do. And you guys, thank you all so much for being here and for your amazing questions. You're just unbelievable. Like, thank you for being so participatory and not being afraid to ask your questions and just really wanting to do it correctly. Again, we don't want it to be overwhelming. Just take it one step at a time, just like you're building your business, and protect yourself as you go. And you'll just be able to exhale and relax and feel ease. And that's the whole idea. So,
and it takes
thank
time.
You for letting me be with you.
Yeah, remember, it takes time, you guys. Really takes time to develop that habit of practicing safe language and skills, and it will become habit. I mean, I literally don't even say the word heal when I'm talking about myself anymore in my home. I almost feel like uncomfortable.
Change the way you think.
Yes, it changes the way you think. Yes. So awesome. All right, everybody, have a
thank you all
today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I will talk to you soon, Lisa.
Thank you. Lots of love.
Right. Lots of love. See you later.
Bye. Bye.